Fashionista, fashionista, fashionista. I come take a picture.
Yes, family, Hey, what's cracking? I'm back. It's Unique Creation. Welcome back to Unique Sessions. And if you don't know, you need to check out my new EP, Dark Season. The Dark Season EP is out now on iTunes, Spotify, Deezer. It's just out. Go check it out. Have a listen. Fashionista. Check it out. If it's for you, download it. If it's not, share it with your friend. It might be for them. But yeah, I'm going to talk about a very interesting subject today. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said this, and he asked, can you really forgive and forget? Can you really forgive someone and forget what they did? It's interesting. All right, I'll just go into it. Of course, we've all had people who've done things to us, whether big or small, either petty or really big, and it's been hard to overlook it. And some, you just forget that they even did it. In fact, they might even bring it up again and say, oh, sorry about what I did last time. You're like, what? Oh, Skin, nah, I forgot that. So to cut a long story short, first of all, you can forgive stuff and you can forget stuff too based on what it is to you. Sometimes I personally believe that the kind of things that is easier to overlook is based on our character type and what we value. But yeah, all right, let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, that you're walking to the store with your friend. And whenever you're going to the store with your friend, for some reason, this friend never has money. They never ever have money when you go into the store, but you see them with new trainers the next day. You know what I'm saying? Those type of people. They say they don't have money, but they always have new things. And they walk into a store and they're like, oh, can you give me a $5? I want to get this. And you're like, why don't you just save up your own money? You're always asking me for money. And then they turn around and say to you like, you know what? You're selfish, you know. You're selfish, man. You're always thinking about yourself, man. Why don't you just give me a $5? Why are you being cheap for? And they start saying things to push your buttons. And you go off, you both argue, you go your separate ways. And the next week you're blessed again. That kind of thing, you might forget it over time if it's not that big a thing to you. I think the bigger something is to you, the harder it is to forgive, first of all. Some things you might mentally overlook. I know that sometimes when I'm angry at someone or someone's done something I don't like, if a certain amount of time goes by, I won't remember the details of why we were arguing, but I might just remember the feeling that it gave to me. Like, when I get upset, it's still something I'm working on. It takes a long time for me to calm down. It could take days sometimes. And if someone does a certain thing, the feeling that I get is something that I'll remember, but I won't remember what they did to offend me. I mean, I may remember in the time, but once the argument or the disagree is over, I won't even remember how it started, the details of it. I may just remember why I was angry at this person because they did something to make me angry or they did something to hurt me. Imagine there's something important to you, whether it's a family member or a job or maybe you have a passion that you're very sensitive about and you don't really want to share. And then you have someone that comes along and does something that you don't like in regards to that. Maybe you have a mom and you have a friend that just walked down and slapped your mom, or you care about your art. You don't really like showing it to people because you're sensitive about it, and you show it to them and then they just tear it apart and just put it down. Or you have something that's like, don't be careful with that, please, it's very important to me, and they break it. And it really hits home. Maybe it's something that your deceased grandmother left to you or something, and they break it and it's just a memento. They didn't take care of it and it really burnt. To forgive is to let go of what they've done and keep it moving. Forgiveness is actually easier than forgetting when it's something big. If someone does something to you, forgiving is just, despite the fact that they've done something, you put effort to ensure that how you love them doesn't come back and hit you. How you love them doesn't get in the way of how you treat that person. That's what forgiveness is. And in Christian terms now, with God, we were created to be a certain way, and we went against God. We went against God, and we've done a lot of things. Even now, people still say things about, Jesus, and say how he's not God, calling him names, saying a bunch of messed up things. And Jesus is always willing to overlook what you've done. He's always willing to overlook what you've done. God is always willing to overlook what you've done as long as you come back and acknowledge the fact that you messed up. That's all it takes. But here's what I find interesting, and I really want comments on this because I'm still analyzing it myself. It almost seems like even God has put a limit to how much he will take of you. He's put a limit to how much he'll take of you. You know how someone does something, you let it go. They do it again, you let it go. They do it again, you let it go. Oh, up to a certain point. I feel like even God has put a limit, and that limit is your lifespan. That limit is your lifespan. Now, we cut our lives short sometimes. We may actually supposed to live longer, but we do things to mess ourselves up. But back to the subject now. And I think from there, looking at that, that's how I try and think. I try not to think from a man's aspect, but from a godly aspect. In terms of, if someone's done this to me, right? If someone does something I don't like, whether consciously or unconsciously, if they did it consciously, I shouldn't have to wait for an apology before I let it go. My pastor once told me that holding a grudge against someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Because really and truly, let's say someone wronged you and they went off. Even if they don't feel any way about it, they're living their own lives, they go to sleep, they wake up, they're fine, they're just chilling. While you're burning, you're angry. Oh, how could they do that? Oh, this wrecking your day, you can't think past it. You're the one suffering. Forgiveness is actually very underrated these days. You're the one suffering. Think about that for a second. Someone's done something to you. They go off. They're chilling. You're seeing Snapchat pictures of them jamming in a rave, having a laugh, chilling, and you're getting vexed watching their Snapchat because they're having fun. You're thinking, this person doesn't even care what they've done. How dare they? This and that. You're getting angrier, and the anger you get is affecting, or what's around you is affecting your day. You're the one having to deal with it. The reason why God says forgive is for your own sake. When you're holding a grudge, you're limiting yourself. You're putting something in your way. Can we really forgive and forget? We can definitely forgive, no matter how big it is. I've heard some shocking things I may not be able to overlook. And some things you can't forget unless it's brought up again. So you can definitely forgive, and you can forget too, based on how your mind is predisposed. I don't know how much you can forget, but from my experience, I forget a lot. I forget a lot of things. So forgiveness and forgetfulness is definitely possible. And for you, if you have a grudge against somebody right now, if you're holding something against someone right now, I encourage you to try and overlook it, let it go and keep moving. Let it go. When you hold on to something, it's burning you, it's melting you down. You can definitely forgive, even if you don't forget it. How you feel when you remember that thought can change for your own sake. Hope that answered the question. Bless John Rochi. See you all very soon. One.
Speak truth to the end, man, never been fam. Speak truth to the end, man, never been fam. Speak truth to the end, man, never been fam.